Hello there and welcome. Thanks very much for joining us tonight. We're going to start in 1 or 2 minutes. You're at the CAO information application session. There's a number of sessions happening across the platform tonight, and this will be the talk on the CAO application process. So thanks very much for joining, and just bear with us for a moment because we know there's lots of people still logging on and still joining. So thank you.
Yes, Sheila, I can see more people joining. So if we just leave it a minute or two, but maybe welcome everyone. And Sheila, if you just want to say what we're covering today and what all the other panel sessions are happening after our one today, if anyone wanted to join those too.
Sure, absolutely. And I should say that there's a number of parallel sessions, and this session on the CAO application process is repeated. It's repeated at 8 o'clock. So feel free if you want to join another one and come back to us at 8 o'clock. There's a session on nursing, on business and law, arts, science, and teaching. And there's also the Ask platform for answering live questions and asking live questions.
Yeah, and Sheila, I joined the Meet the Students session at 6 o'clock, and it will be available for anyone who's attending this session, the Meet the Students, where we had five current undergraduate students who really gave a great insight into what it's like to be a student at Maynooth University. So I would encourage you after today to look back on that recording if you missed it. So sorry, Sheila, I see most people are in now or still joining,
We're
so.
over 60 people now, so I think we might just get started. So first of all, I might just introduce myself. My name is Sheila Purcell. I'm the undergraduate admissions officer at Maynooth University. I'm delighted to be joined by our Director of Admissions and Deputy Registrar, Ita McGuigan, and my colleague, Naomi McLaughlin, who is our undergraduate admissions advisor, is here as well as part of the panel. So thank you, Naomi and Ita, for joining us tonight. And Naomi and Ita are going to, while I'm speaking, they'll be answering any of your questions. So please feel free to ask any of your questions in the Q&A box. Just no such thing as a stupid question. So please, just any questions you might have on the process, just pop it in there, and Naomi and Ita will try and answer it as best they can, or if they think it's a particularly relevant question, they're going to answer it live during the presentation. So I think it's about 2 minutes past, and we've got nearly 70 people now. So I might just start sharing my screen and see how we get on. So just bear with me one moment, and we'll share the screen. Now, Naomi, you might tell me, is that sharing correctly?
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, and I think from the first slide, is it?
It's not on presentation mode, Sheila.
Okay,
So
now it is. Yep, it
Yeah.
should be now. Lovely. So thanks, everybody. Let's, and you're so welcome if you've just joined us. Delighted to talk to you about the CAO application process. So I'm going to be talking for maybe 35, 40 minutes, and then we'll be answering some questions and an overview of what we'll be talking about. We'll be talking about the different pathways to college. We'll talk about the national framework of qualifications within Ireland. We'll talk about actually the bones of making your application to CAO, and I have taken screenshots of pretty much every page on the CAO application. So it's very much a step-by-step, very basic what I'm going to be telling you about making the application. We'll talk a little bit about course preferences and how that works during the CAO offer season. We'll talk a little bit about entry requirements and points and how they're used, and a little note about, I suppose, a checklist for checking at the end and where you can get further information. So that's what we're going to be talking about this evening. So I suppose the first thing to mention is that there's a path for anyone who wants it. There is a pathway for you to college, whether you're a mature student, whether you're a QQI applicant, or whether you're coming straight from your leaving cert. There's different ways, different methods, and at different times of people's lives, they are interested in going to college and looking at different routes. I might actually slip down to this screen first of all, the National Framework Qualifications. So everybody in Ireland, no matter what age or what stage they're at, they are making their way up this framework to get the highest level of education that they want for themselves. And we all want something different from our own education. We all have different aims and ambitions and different abilities. So if somebody's coming out with a leaving cert with mostly higher level subjects, they'll be coming out of school with a level 5 qualification. And I suppose the big question is, well, what next? Where am I going? What am I going to do? So there's so many things on offer for the student coming out of school. They can go straight into a level 6, 7, or 8 course. These are the options for students if they wish to go straight on to higher education. So at level 6, we have what is called the Higher Certificate Awards. They're 2 years long. They're very practical, very good, and mostly offered in the technological universities. Some people might decide to go straight for those qualifications. Others might decide to go for a degree. You can do a degree at level 7 or level 8. The difference being a level 7 degree is what we call an ordinary level degree, and a level 8 is a higher level degree. So in the technological universities, a lot of the level 6 awards, your 2-year certificates, lead on to a level 7 and again then to a level 8. So it's a lovely smooth transition if that's what you want, but you could take it in almost bite-sized chunks. What are we in Maynooth? We're all about the level 8 honours degrees. That's what we offer to incoming applicants. So coming straight from school, or if you're a mature student, or if you're a QQI applicant, what we offer you is coming in directly to the level 8 honours degree. So that's just a little bit about the levels, and I'll probably recap on that later when we're looking at one of the pages on the CAO application process. But it's no harm to just have that knowledge in advance and just the differences between level 6, 7, and 8, because I suppose that's what the CAO application process caters for, your level 6, 7, and 8. I might just take you back to this slide now, and this, I suppose, third level education. So coming from school, what we call second level, you can go straight into a QQI course. You'll have heard of QQI courses. Some of you, I'd say, attending maybe are QQI students at present, and you're hoping to come into Maynooth to year 1 next September. Very good, very practical 1-year courses offered in your local colleges of further education, such as Dunboyne College of Further Education, Cavan College of Further Education, all over the country and all over the city. You can go straight onto technological university or the traditional university straight from school. The different duration of I suppose, timeline is written there in the grey on the right hand side, just different lengths of time. The honours degrees at level 8, mostly 3 and 4 years, depending on the subject matter. So the CAO system, the Central Applications Office system, so it's been in use for about 50 years now, just over 50 years, I think. It's used for 30 different, I should say colleges, not courses, 30 different colleges across 42 different campus. And I suppose it's the provider of the centralised system. The CAO does not make decisions on who will get a place, who will get an offer. It is the colleges and universities that make this decision, but we do it through the centralised system of the CAO. You can also, there's a link on the CAO website to bring you into the level 5s of the and the level 6s of further education and training, and also the apprentice levels as well. You can click on a link through the CAO to access those, but through the CAO system at present, what you apply for are the level 6, 7, and 8. Before we get into the, I suppose, the nuts and bolts of the system or what it looks like, just to know the dates, and I suppose this is very pertinent. We timed this, especially this talk tonight and this event this evening, it is timed just before the 20th of January. So I suppose that's the first, we'll say, small deadline with CAO. If you want to apply and just get a slightly cheaper application fee, you'll make your application before the 20th of January. But the system has been opened on the 5th of November, and you can of course keep applying up until the 1st of February. If you are a mature student, we particularly advise you to apply by the 1st of February. If you're applying to what we call a restricted course. So a restricted course is a course that makes its decisions on on applicants and who they're going to offer the course to, not just on the Leaving Cert, but on other criteria, such as maybe an art course might require you to do a portfolio. A music course might need you to do an audition or some kind of music competency test. You'll know about the HPAT if you're interested in medicine. There's various different courses that are called restricted. And I suppose the process of choosing the applicants for that course will actually happen in the institutions during March, April, and May. So you cannot apply late to those courses. So just keep an eye on those if you're interested in things like music, like art, medicine, and plenty other areas. Just keep an eye that you must apply by February 1st for that course. On the 5th of May, the system called the Change of Mind system opens within CAO. And that is a lovely facility where you can log back in on the 5th of May, between the 5th of May and the 1st of July, and you can change your mind. So whatever courses you had listed, you can change them completely. You can put what was number 1, you can delete it. What was your last choice, you can put as your first choice. You can add in new things unless they're restricted. And you can delete things, completely up to you, and you can keep changing your mind as often as you like between the 5th of May and the 1st of July. So that's just some I suppose, the timeline of why we do this, and why this, I suppose, this time of year is quite important. And over the next few days, I think probably half of you in the audience probably have already made a CAO application, and I'd say some of you haven't, but hopefully after tonight you'll be a little bit more motivated and realise there's nothing to be fearful of, and you'll get started if you haven't. There's 3 things that applicants must satisfy, and we're going to be talking about these later, so it's just to I suppose, lay the groundwork for what's coming. We'll explain the word matriculation, and we'll explain that just one set of requirements. So every different university has a different, or college has a different set of requirements, overall requirements. And normally they're quite basic. Then there's particular course requirements. Different courses require you to have absolutely different set of needs, I suppose. And then it's the last thing that's looked at is the CAO points. We're going to come back to that in a lot more detail in a few moments. So I'm going to move on to what you're going to see if you logged on to cao.ie. You do it in the background now. While this is up in a corner, that's absolutely great, because you'll see this screen. So this is just an absolute screenshot of the very first page. Okay, so it will tell you before you'll see a little grey box. I'm just reading from the grey box up there. Before applying, what do you do? Well, if you've already applied, you click on My Application. If you haven't, you click on that green button, Apply. Number 2. It sounds a bit basic, but it's one of the most important things. Read the actual handbook. It's an online handbook. There's about, let me see, there's 100 pages in it. Back page, I'm just looking at one here. If there's 100 pages, it's either online, or you might be lucky enough to have a hard copy one, but all the details are there. The first 35 pages are actually full of really useful information about the whole process, and it takes you through it in a lot of detail, which is fantastic. And then all the next pages, so what's that, about 70 pages or whatever, 65 pages, they are all the different colleges and all the different courses that you can apply for. So there's absolutely hundreds of courses for you to pick from all the different colleges across the country. So never before has there been such choice and variety of options. So it's really a good idea to look at that in the first instance, and think about what kind of courses are out there if you haven't done some research on that at all. A lot of colleges, from the publication, are kind of the giving to CAO each year. It's the month of May or June, where we give CAO what courses, we tell them what courses we have running the following September 12 months. So that's quite a long period. So some colleges can change their courses. So it's no harm to look into that little hyperlink there that of course changes. Now in Maynooth, we haven't actually changed any of our programs. Everything we put into the 2026 handbook still stands the same, or all is the same. So that's the first screen, very basic, giving you instructions, telling you what to do before applying or how to apply. One of the things you can do there on the back of that first page is to click on, now I'm trying to find, where did I find this? You may use the interactive demo facility. So there's an interactive demo facility where you can practice actually doing a CAO application. But what you can also do is look at the video guides. So there's a range of different guides that you can look at. And the very first one is really basic, applying to the CAO. So click into it, have a look at it, and just follow it. It's very straightforward if you want to. The CAO handbook. When you click on this link, you'll see there's a few options. So the change of CAO handbook, you might like to look at that. You might like to have it as a PDF download, keep it on your desktop. That's absolutely fine. And then you could look at separate lists of courses. You can look at all of the level 8 courses, all of the level 7 courses, all of the level 6 courses. You might like to look at them separately. Then you can do what's called a personalized CAO handbook. So this is a very useful technique, I suppose, if you know, well, actually, I'm really interested in business. I know 100% I want a business course, and I'm not, I want it in Munster, I want it in Leinster, wherever I am. You can actually just go in and personalize what kind of area you're interested in terms of discipline, and you can pick those out and delete others, and just have a personalized handbook of every single business course at level 8 in the country. And it just can narrow your search and be a little bit less overwhelming if you're sure that's what you want to do. And you can see there's a personalized CAO handbook guide, a step-by-step guide to show you how to create the personalized handbook. So going back to, I suppose, that green button at the top screen, just literally apply. That's how you then start the application. If you've already started an application and paid your fee and have a CAO number, then you would click on the red button with the white star there saying my application. But for tonight, we're taking it that there's no applications made. We're starting fresh. So we would click on apply. So this is the very first screen. It is very straightforward, nothing to be worried about. It's your basic biographical data that is requested, and you just fill that in. So there's nothing more to say about that. An email address, confirm your email, which is a note of caution here. The email address you use, can you be sure that is an email address that you're still going to be using during the months of July and August and September, when the CAO offers are being made. So if you're a school student and you're using your school email address, is that going to be valid next September, October? Maybe not. So find out and consider that, and use a personal email address that will certainly be valid. Because this will be the email address that will be on your CAO application that will be transmitted to whatever college or university is going to make your offer. So it's how they're going to communicate with you about orientation, about paying your fees, about getting registered. So it's really important. So you just need to think ahead a little bit, okay? The contact phone number, and do you wish to receive messages from CAO? I would advise everybody to always tick yes. Yes, do you wish to receive messages from the HEIs or from the CAO? These are not going to be marketing messages. These are going to be messages to do with your application. So, and it can only be good news if they're contacting you. So make yourself as available as possible is what I would say, and tick yes. But it is, of course, completely up to you. The next section is very important as well. So your qualification and assessment. So how do you wish to be assessed for the courses that you're applying for? Is it on the basis of having done a Leaving Cert exam? If so, great. Tick 1. And those of you who are Leaving Cert students in the audience tonight, or parents of the Leaving Cert students, that's the obvious one you tick. But there'll be a lot of people in the audience tonight that are going to tick 2 or 3 or even 4 of these. Maybe a mature student will have a Leaving Cert from 10, 20, 30 years ago. That's great. That's fine. Tick tick there. The first one could be you're currently doing a QQI course, or you actually did one 3 years ago. You tick there. You could be applying from Northern Ireland, from UK with GCA levels. Check that. So another school leaving exam. So this is for our European colleagues from students who are going to be joining us, and we're delighted every year. We have gosh over 1,000 applications from other EU countries, and they're always welcome. So they tick number for other school leaving exam.
Sheila, and yeah, can I just come in there, Sheila? And apologies to Keelan. I have done something on the system that I can't answer your question, but I'll answer it live at the end. But Sheila, I think you made a really important point there about ticking all the relevant boxes. We have seen in the admissions office where a student may not receive an offer of a program they feel they're entitled to. And on the at first glance, you wonder why they didn't receive the offer, because they got the 8 distinctions in the QQI or their PLC, and that's relevant to what you asked, Keelan. So you'd think, okay, how come they didn't get it? But because the student thinks, okay, I'm doing a QQI, I don't need to put up my Leaving Cert results, there could be a specific Leaving Cert requirement or a maths requirement. So a student that I'm current that entered my head when Sheila was talking there was they sat the Leaving Cert, they decided to take a year out. They went off to do a QQI course to ensure that's the course they wanted to do, or maybe they were too young to go to college, or they thought actually, well, I don't get the CAO points. So they went off, done a brilliant QQI course, got 10 distinctions, I think it was, but they didn't get the offer. And when we looked into it, because they hadn't uploaded their Leaving Cert results and they hadn't shown that they had got the past maths or whatever the requirement was, the system didn't pick it up, because if the applicant doesn't put up all their information, the system only picks up the basic entry requirements. So because the system didn't pick up, they had the basic entry requirement in maths, they were deemed ineligible for the course. Because now we could figure it out, and it was a success for that student, but only that they contacted us going, why didn't I get an offer from Maynooth? It was my number one course. We looked into it. But how many other students are out there and accept, well, I mustn't have got into Maynooth for whatever reason, and because this applicant actually did get another offer from another institution, and for both a level 8 and level 7, and it was just that they really, really, really wanted this program at Maynooth. They picked up the phone and said, can you check, is there something wrong? So long-winded a story there on backing up your story, Sheila. It is so important to put in all the school leaving exams or others or qualifications. Sorry about that, Keelan, and I will get back to Keelan.
Thanks, EJ. You're absolutely right. And I do remember one particular case that we both dealt with last year. And while it did get rectified, it was a very difficult time for the family. They were so worried, and they didn't get the first round offer. They had to wait an extra week for a round 2 offer. So just, yeah, we make sure you tick what's relevant, how you're going to be assessed. Okay. Thanks, Isa. I'm going to move on here. And this is just, there's actually a great section on the website for any mature applicants. So anybody who is 23 years old on or before the 1st of January this year, 2026, is considered a mature student. And it's just important to get your application in by the 1st of February, the first thing to say, and just look at these. There's different presentations and guides to guide you through the process as a mature student, because there's a couple of extra pieces of information we require from you, because you might not be applying on the basis of a fantastic leaving cert from a few years ago, but it could be your work experience, your interests, your hobbies, whatever you're doing in the last couple of years that is more than made up for points. And that's what we want to see and hear from you on. So it's important to fill in, I suppose, the extra question. So there's an information sheet about the mature application form, and that's all on the website. And I suppose the two key questions for matures are, I suppose, your statement of interest, your educational goals, your objectives, and your interests and hobby. Don't leave those blank. Where there's an opportunity to tell us about yourself and your background and what you're looking for, use it. Use it, okay? Because a lot in Maynooth, a lot of the mature student assessment, to get you as far as an interview or to get you to the next stage of application will be based on what you enter into the statement of interest, and how motivated you come across. So just to mention that. So back to nothing to mature students, but for any student at any stage, after the biographical details, basically, and the email address and contact details, the next thing that CAO is going to look for is your application fee. So if you make that application before the 20th, you pay 35, otherwise it's 50, and you enter your card details as such. And that is, I suppose, the basis of the application. You'll be asked to create a password, an account password, and to confirm it. So we would advise applicants, write this down, put it somewhere safe. Where are you going to put the password? Yes, of course, you can always contact CAO at some time to get it reset, but it's going to take time and effort. And during the summer, in the middle of a round one or an important moment, you don't want to be doing that. So make sure you've written down your password, saved it somewhere. Maybe if there's a history of being unreliable with your password, share it with a parent, share it with a trusted significant other, would be an advice, okay? So that is your initial application. Immediately after doing that application, literally within 60 seconds, if you ticked yes, I agree to being contacted by SMS, you will get a text message to your phone with your 8-digit CAO application number. And there's lovely reassurance with that, saying, oh, so I have made an application, great, it's done, it's successful. So that's your 8-digit CAO number. That's the number that you're going to be using in first year, second year, third year of college, and right through your academic career. So the number, it's private, and it's going to be used in every bit of correspondence. Okay. So you can, if you do not want to apply for a restricted course, so that's the courses that are choosing their candidates during March, April, May. If it's not a restricted course, and if you're not a mature student, you can pause and leave your application at that, and then you have until May to actually put in course choices and then change them. So that is the first hurdle, I suppose. The second hurdle is this, and making your course choices whenever you choose to do that. So you're actually given the choice: do you want entry to first year or advanced entry? So a couple of the institutions have advanced entry. That's if you have done year one of a university course elsewhere. So the majority of you are going to be clicking entry to year one. Okay, so then you're given your choices: level 8 course choices and level 6-7 course choices. So you might remember I said the level 8 degrees are the honours degrees, the higher level degrees. So you can add as up to 10 different level 8 degrees. They can be from any of the institutions that are mentioned in the CAO handbook. You might want one course choice from Trinity, one from UCD, one from MTU, one from SETU, and of course we hope Maynooth University is there as well. You can put them, you can have 10 different choices there. Then you have the level 7, level 6, and again you have 10 choices there, and they can be from a complete mix of different institutions. And just a reminder that the level 7 are what we call the ordinary level degree, and the level 6 is the higher certificate 2-year courses. So when you click into add your level 8 course choices, it literally looks like this, and you enter the courses you want. So if I want law and Maynooth, I don't write down law in Maynooth. I go and look at the CEO handbook and find out, well, what is the course code? What is the CEO code for this course? And they're all listed in the handbook. That's what the handbook is for. So if I'm looking for law in Maynooth, it's either MH 501 or 502 or 503 or 4, depending on what you want to combine the law with. And you literally can list them all the way. You don't have to put 10 choices. You absolutely don't, but don't limit yourself to just one or two. Okay, so that's it's as simple as that. And I suppose I'm really going to hone in on this. The whole purpose of the system, the CA system, it's aiming to give you your highest choice. So I suppose it's up to the applicant and not the parent, but the applicant in collaboration and consultation with all other stakeholders to think about what is it they really want, not what they think they're going to get, not what they think they're going to be able for, but what course is it that they absolutely want. And I'm going to give an example of how that pans out in a moment in another screen. But I'm going to go back to the word matriculation. So we'll say you've entered in your courses. So what happens, I suppose, from our end, but during the summer when we're, I suppose, acting and assessing the applicants and making the offers. What are we looking for? What are we looking at? And it was the first thing, because people know all about points and get very caught up in points, but there's other things to think about as well. So the first thing is matriculation, and matriculation kind of means the minimum entry requirement for a college. And every college is going to have a slightly different matriculation. So it's up to the student or the applicant to go research that and go check what is the matriculation, what is the basic entry requirement for DCU, what is it for Trinity, what is it for UCC, and just to check what it is and that you have it. For example, for Maynooth University, we required 2 honours 4 passes, so 2 H5s and 4 O6s minimum. And you must have passed, ordinary level is fine, but you must have passed your English, and you must have passed Irish as well. So that is a requirement for Maynooth University. However, you may have what we call an exemption to Irish, and then you do not need to present Irish, but you do need to present the exemption. And it's not an exemption from your school. It's an exemption from the umbrella group, I suppose, called the NUI, the National University of Ireland. And the National University of Ireland is kind of the umbrella over Maynooth University, University College Cork, University College Dublin, and the University of Galway. Those 4 NUI universities. So if you're applying for any of those, you will need an NUI exemption from Irish if you're not presenting Irish. And there's many reasons why you might have an exemption, and just have a look at NUI.ie if you think that applies to you, and you can actually apply for it. It's live, you are not live, but the link is live that you can apply for it from now on. It's open. Matriculation, if you don't have those, you might be a mature student, and that's absolutely fine. You matriculate by being, for the university, by being over 23 on the 1st of January. That's how you meet the matriculation requirements, the minimum requirements, if you're over 23 by virtue of your age, because we value that. Then the second thing we're looking for is a specific subject requirements. So that might mean if you're interested in our engineering degree, you're going to have a H4 in your maths. If you're interested in primary school teaching, you need your H4 in your Gaeilge. And there's absolutely no point in applying for those courses unless you are doing higher level. So just to note that, and just remember that. So courses have different requirements. It's up to the applicant, and you've plenty of time to start doing that research in the courses you're interested in. Is a foreign language required? Is higher level maths required? Is ordinary level maths required? What do I need? And am I in with a realistic shot of getting that? Or am I not even doing that subject? And then I really shouldn't be applying for it. So that's the second thing we look at. And just the last thing is actually the points. And the points are calculated from your best 6 subjects in one Leaving Cert sitting. And of course, for a mature student, we are not looking at number 2 and number 3 at all. Once you're mature, filled in the mature form, you may be called for, you'll be assessed on the form that you filled out, and you might be called for interview, and then you'll be assessed at interview. It'll usually be an online interview. Or you'll be asked to do a written piece of work and to send it in, or a maths test online and to send it in. But we'll be in contact with you if we're asking you to do something. And like with a QQI applicant, you meet the matriculation requirement by completing your QQI level 5 award, passing all 8 modules and having a minimum of 5 distinctions. That's how you matriculate. And then, of course, after matriculation and subject specific requirements and points, it then is competitive. Because, of course, you remember from the framework that I showed you, if you're going in school, you're coming out of school with a level 5 qualification and you want to go straight into a level 8 qualification, a higher level honours degree, you are bypassing 2 levels. So it is competitive. It's not going to be for everybody. And that's why we're looking for the most academic and the people with the highest points. But really, a lot of it is about supply and demand. The smaller the class size, the higher the points would tend to be. The larger the class size, the more reasonable the points might be, because there's more places, so we can let more people in, so the points tend to drop. So don't be intimidated if you see a course, gosh, it's been 500 points, 550 points, it's for the last few years. I wonder if it's going to be the same this year. It doesn't mean that the course is going to be really, really hard. Nobody can tell you what's going to be hard or what's going to be easy. Everyone's going to find that different. It just means it's going to be hard to get into it because there might be very few places and there's high competition and a lot of people, applicants for that place. So yeah, I think this just reiterates what I just said there. What determines the points? The number of applicants, the number of places, and the performance of the applicants. Some years there might be a year of really strong points, and other years the cohort is slightly less, so it just differs. We're going to talk a little bit about, I suppose, how the places are allocated and how it's so important to have your highest choice, your first choice, something that you really want. And I suppose I'm just going to quickly give an example of something like primary school teaching. There's 90 places in it. So it's a small enough class size. There could be, gosh, I know I looked it up today and there's already 500 people have applied for it. But there will be over 1,000 will have applied for it when we get to the allocation time. So when you're looking at all that the 1,000 people who have looked for that course, you're looking at the 3 things that I mentioned: matriculation, how many of them have met matriculation, and probably some are left to the side because they haven't matriculated or they don't have what they need for us. The next thing is the specific program requirement. So they mightn't have the higher level in Irish that's required for primary teaching. So they're left to the side. So you might be just left with maybe 700 or 800 people looking for a course of 90. And then you literally get the points in for everybody who's eligible. You fill your quota of mature students, QQI. Well, that particular course, we don't have QQI places. And the next thing you do is you get the list of Leaving Cert points from all the applicants, and from highest to lowest, you take your 90 students or you fill your course places. And the last person into the class, whatever points they had, that is the cutoff of points for that course for that year. And it's important to note that the points, just because a course had a certain points threshold last year, it may not be the same this year. It could be higher, it could be lower, or it could indeed be the same. We can't predict. We don't know. It depends on the number of applicants, we do know the number of places, but we don't know the performance until the results are out. So just don't be banking on, but it was 400 points last year. It can change. It can change. We're going to just go through this in I suppose a little bit of detail. We're just going to give an example of a student. So we'll say there's a great student. They've come out with a points total of 445. And for the purposes of this example, we'll say they've met all, obviously, matriculation requirements and the program requirements, the course requirements for every course they wanted to apply for. So you'll see in orange what the cutoff of points was for each course here. So I'm just going to take you through this. I just think it highlights one point, and I'll come to that point in a moment. So it could be their first choice is a course in Cork, in UCC. So the cutoff of points for that course is decided by Cork, that they had enough people in the class when they got down to 495. So this person, so our candidate who got a great leaving cert, 445 points, they're not getting a place there. So they're not getting their first choice. So next to a course in Galway, where the points cut off for the second course choice they wanted was 480. So no, they're not getting that either. They're below that. There are a couple of people below that. So the next course, the student got 445 points and the cutoff was 430. So it's fantastic news. They got their third choice. So once the student gets what they wanted, the highest preference possible, everything else falls away. So even though they had a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, they had plenty more preferences and they met the points for all of those courses. It actually, so they have a no, and then a yes, and they actually all fall away. All the lower preference courses fall away from the student preferences once they get offered something. So remember I said it's really important to put what you really want as high as possible, because the system is trying to give you the highest thing possible. So even if points change, no matter what changes for this person's fourth choice, fifth choice, sixth choice, they're never getting it. So it's too late to come ring us and say, but I had Maynooth as my fourth choice and I got plenty of points. I've met the requirements. Could you not squeeze me in? No, we can't, because this is how the system works. If you really wanted the Maynooth arts degree, you should have put it number one. So I hope that that demonstrates that point. Ita, is there anything you want to add there, or is that okay?
No, that's a really good, and I think there was some questions coming through on how many can I put down, and as Naomi correctly answered, like there is 10. We offer level 8 programs at Maynooth University. Really and truly, I know if it was me, and even when I filled out my leaving cert, I was getting in somewhere. I had, the dream courses, the realistic ones, and then the backup. I filled out the 10. I filled out the 20 in complete. Someone asked, can they only put down 8 out of 10? Yes, you can put out of 8 out of 10, but I would strongly recommend, if you done your best ever in the dream scenario, what would be your number one? What would you be number two, number three? If you done what you'd expect, and that'll be the 3, 4, 5 possibly, I'm speaking, I'm not a 625 pointer or anything like that. And then my 7, 8, 9 is like, will eventually lead into my first, second, or third, fourth preference, whether that's through a master's or whatever. So that's what I would do, and it's so important to put in genuine order of preference. Every year we will get a letter from a solicitor, or not a solicitor, a TD, or someone of influence. It'll come via the president's office or whatever, going, I got 625 points, or I got 410 points. I got over what you required. I put it down number 3. I've changed my mind. I want to come to Maynooth. We sign strict guidelines or agreements with the CAO and other institutions that we you only can accept, you can get offered something lower in subsequent rounds, but you can't get higher. Sorry, and I was answering a question, so Sheila, I hope that is.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I suppose, yeah, that does highlight that. So this person's second choice, it could be in a later round that they might get offered the second or the first, but they will never get offered anything lower. That is completely over with. So just to be aware of that. A very important question. There's 2 important questions you're going to be asked in the application process, on the application form, do you wish to be considered for the DARE program? Do you wish to be considered for the HERE program? And the DARE program is what we call the disability access route to education. If somebody has a learning difficulty or a significant disability that would have affected in a significant way their learning and their schooling, you might wish to apply for DARE, but there'll be a huge amount of paperwork to submit as part of that. So just to be aware of that there's a lot of paperwork, but there could be with certain institutions just some flexibility and a reduction up to a certain level on points, not on entry requirements or program requirements, but just maybe 20, 30, 40 points might benefit the students because they missed school or due to their disability or learning difficulty. Likewise, the higher education access route, the HERE route, if there's a lot of financial difficulty, maybe unemployment at home, and just a different family background, it could be that you'd be eligible for the HERE scheme, which tries to support students from with difficult financial background, family background. Again, a lot of paperwork, and it's really important that parents are supportive. There's a lot of work involved in applying to HERE or DARE. It's well worthwhile, but just that there will be paperwork that has to come in. It doesn't have to come in until I think March 10th, but you just need to get that in motion and tick that yes, I want to be considered first, or no, you don't. That's fine too. So there's plenty of information about both of these routes on accesscollege.ie. So www.accesscollege.ie. And I should say Maynooth University has to 5% DARE students, 5% HERE students coming into each course each year. And we do give a reduction in points once students have a minimum of 300 points and meet all the requirements. We can add on some points to support the students. So I suppose a summary of the whole process, please put your choices in strict order of preference. Study all your preferences carefully. There's no point in dreaming of an LLB in law and having that as your first choice, thinking, oh, it's my dream course, it's exactly what I want, but you never actually looked at the prospectus, you never actually looked at the course finder, you never actually read what subjects are taught in second year, you never checked is there work experience or not, you never walked on the campus, you never got a feel for the place. So you could end up with your first choice, or you could end up with your 9th or 10th choice. Make sure you've looked at all of them in detail and gone to open days and immersed yourself in the research. Keep an eye on the application deadlines and the Change of Mind facility. Know which courses have restricted application. In Maynooth, we have a community and youth work degree, and that has a restricted application because rather than leaving certain points, we want to hear from you and meet with you and see how have you been interacting with your community, and we want to meet you at group interview and individual interview. Our other course that's restricted is our Bachelor of Music, the BMUS MH103 Music, because there's an entrance test audition that you could do online for us. Check your eligibility for all courses. If a course is looking for you to have higher level maths and you're doing ordinary level, then there is no point in applying for it. And just check within the CAO handbook, there's a handful of courses that are what we call private fee paying colleges that are not part of the national fees initiative. So just be careful of that and check it out if you're seeing. Everybody would know that I presume that psychology degrees are very high in demand and high points all around. So if you see a level 8 psychology degree is 300 points or less, that should be raising questions. Why is that maybe a private college? And maybe you have the money for a private college, and that's fantastic. But just the more knowledge you have, the more research you do, the better. So I suppose some of the golden rules, you can only move up your list of choices, never down. you can be in a very lovely position in of being offered two things. You can be offered a course on your level 8 list, and then if you applied for a course at level 7 and level 6 list, you could also be offered one of those. And that's a lovely position to be in, to have a level 8 offer and a level 6 or 7 offer, but you can only accept one. So you do get a couple of days to make your decision, but just work it out and make your decision and only accept one. Every year we have a lot of people who accept the wrong one, and while we might be able to undo it, it's a lot of stress and hassle and emails and communication on your behalf. So just accept one offer. Treat any offer as if it's your last. So maybe you didn't get your first choice, you got your second choice. Don't just sit around waiting for a first choice, because right now, if that's what you're getting, your second choice, maybe nothing else is coming. Maybe it is, and that's okay. Because if you've accepted your second choice that you were offered, and then in a later round you get offered your first choice, you can, of course, accept it. And that's what we mean by you can move up your list, but never down. There's a facility on the CAO handbook, a little known facility called Available Places. Each year, there's a handful of courses that have extra capacity in them, that have spare places. And if you're really, I suppose, disappointed in what you were offered or weren't offered anything, it's important to have a look through Available Place and see, well, what courses are out there. Now, you're certainly not going to find your really high demand courses, usually, although this September just gone, Maynooth, we launched quite late our nursing degree, and we launched it through Available Places. So that was certainly a high demand course. We had over 800 people applying for it, and 2 days to turn around the offer. So just keep an eye on the Available Places facility on CAO, and that'll just become visible to you the middle of August. That'll open up. Just be aware of appeals, upgrades, and subsequent offers. So some people will be very disappointed in their Leaving Cert results and will feel they were unfairly marked. And you can appeal this, and upgrades can happen with your points and with your results, and that's fantastic to be owed an upgrade and to get it. And on the basis of that, every year, just in time for what's called round 5 of CAO, every single university or college, the HEIs, will get a list of all the extra people who now meet the requirements and meet the points for different courses. And if we cannot all fit you into that class in Maynooth, we certainly will try to, but for 1 or 2 courses, it's going to be too late, because round 5 means we are potentially the first few days of October, the very end of September, the start of October. So it could be too late. It could be there's no places left, or the class has moved on at such a high pace. Or it could also be that you have started a course and you love it, and you actually don't want what you now got upgraded to. So, but just to be aware of what can happen. You can, of course, at any stage, whether you get an offer in round A, which is predominantly for mature students and happens early July. Round 0, which is predominantly for our QQI students and happens early August. Or the round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In any of these offers, if you get an offer of a course, you can, of course, choose not to accept it and to defer it for a year. And Maynooth, there's no particular criteria. If you want to do that, you absolutely can, but you must inform us and fill out the correct application form and not accept your offer. And certainly there's an email address, and you will tell us about it. So that, I suppose, is some golden nuggets.
Golden nuggets, but of more golden nuggets for you, Sheila, or more golden questions. And I'm just wondering, because I'm very conscious of time, and I know that you're jumping on to the 8 o'clock one too. There's a couple of questions. Will I ask you now, or
Yeah,
do you want to leave
absolutely.
it?
This is just a checklist that's on the CAO handbook. It's a check. Have you done this, this, this? Check it out yourself and look at it. The main things that people go wrong on, they forgot to add in the courses, they didn't meet requirements, just why they didn't get an offer. We might talk about random selection if we have time. this is what CAO at their recent conferences, Isha, they mentioned that what they see as a major error is people not reading the information in the handbook, not putting their courses in proper, genuine order of preference, and using a school email address that is no longer in use. So that is course sources of information here, but I know Naomi has been adding links, so I think we're absolutely fine. Isha, if you want to mention a few questions that we could answer, yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Sheila. And actually, that's a great slide that you have put up there on when people are just looking. Read that slide. Why have you not got an offer? And a lot of the mistakes that we see or hear from is listed on Sheila's sheet there. So first of all, I want to apologise to Keelan. Keelan, I am sorry. I hit the wrong button, as in not type and answer live. So my colleague Naomi has answered, but it was really good question on clarify PLC is the same as QQI. We put the link if people are wondering what are the link courses. We have them on our website. If you put in QQI link courses in Maynooth, you can see that. Maria, thank you for pointing out an error in our print material, and we are delighted that there is a QQI link to the creative English degree, and that was down to Sheila doing that work on that QQI link. There was another course, question. Lisa, you asked if you're correct, if you're only sitting the Leaving Cert in 2026 and you have done no other exams, yes, you click sitting the Leaving Cert on those exams that Sheila, I hope that's the question you were asking. That's the way I'm reading it. If I was a first time Leaving Cert applicant or whatever, I'm a Leaving Cert student, and that's what I tick on my CEO form. Sheila, this question came in and I didn't answer because you're really good at explaining it, and I think you answered it when on the next slide after. If you accept a place, are you excluded from other rounds? So do you just want to quickly mention, and I know you did cover
I think I did
you did.
cover that, so hopefully that's answered already. You are if you've been offered a place, whether you accept it or not, you will never get offered anything lower on your list ever. But you can possibly get something higher if they reduce their points or if they extend the class size. Yeah.
Perfect. And Sheila, a question has come in. I thought I'd answered. Apologies, it's an anonymous person coming in, and they were asking about the percentage on QQI places. I had sent the link on the number of places per program, but in general, and someone had mentioned about here and there, Maynooth, prides itself on access to education for all, and with the here and the there and QQI places. And there is a percentage overall, Sheila, and I just can't think off the top of my head per programme what it is, but that's not just for QQI, that's non-traditional, I suppose, or
Yeah, well,
non.
I suppose it's up to 5%,
Yeah,
absolutely, but more than 5% in most courses for QQI or PLC, as you rightly say. It's between 3 and 5% for here, and 3 and 5% there is the official quota, but we normally go beyond that. We normally go beyond that if we can.
perfect. Thank you. I'm very conscious of time. Is there any way to change your email to your own if you put your school one down? Thanks. I would contact the CEO or get in to
Yeah.
edit your profile. Is there any rule against not having any backup choices? Absolutely no. This is your future, your destination, your application. If you have one thing in mind, and it's just if I and the advice I gave earlier was my own advice, and if I was advising a student, that's what I would. But there's no rules that And sorry, the most common mistake you mentioned in healthcare specific, what we give from an admissions point of view. It doesn't matter if it's healthcare or business or law or arts, those common mistakes that Sheila mentioned that we talked about are relevant throughout. So it's the small things that people get caught out, whether they don't have the language exemption, whether they didn't put up their previous Leaving Cert, whether they didn't put up an exam number. And someone asked, will this be available? Sheila, you got credit for your presentation. Thank you. And they want to know if it's available for afterwards. And yes, it is. And again, it should be up before the end of the week. But sorry, I'll hand over to you, Sheila, now.
Yeah, and I think more so than looking at this presentation again, go look at the presentation on the CAO website, because obviously that's their purpose, and they're very, very good, very detailed. But this has been recorded and that will be made available. I think it takes 24 hours for the recording to become available, and then it'll be posted on our website. So I think that brings to a close. So thank you very much for attending. I hope you found it helpful, and we look forward to getting your application and assessing you at Maynooth. Thank you very much to Ita and to Naomi as well, and it's been a great session, and thank you for your questions. We'll leave it there. So bye-bye for now.